All right, welcome to another episode of On the King's Dime. It's Christmas Eve, and we're doing a live stream. Point to the live stream.
Yo.
Can't really see it's due rigged up on the shelf there. It looks pretty good, but so come and say g'day. Leave us a comment below. We obviously just got left a little Christmas log in our stocking from the Melbourne United team.
And the refs as well.
And the refs took a nice little deuce in our stocking. After a nice four-game road trip, it was a good road trip. We beat the Perth Wildcats and then the Illawarra Hawks and the Taipans and also New Zealand at the start of that. It sent us to the top of the league, but of course this big game against Melbourne was the game that decided who would be on top of the league at Christmas, and it is Melbourne because we did lose that game yesterday. It was a shame. It was a decent first half, but obviously we struggled in the second half. And ultimately, I think Melbourne are probably the better sort of team that is a group of players who can win a game down the stretch, and we're sort of still trying to find our way with that. Of course, you can find us on the King's Dime on YouTube and on Facebook, and I believe you can subscribe, hit the button, send us a thing. We're on live at the moment. Andy's going to try and share it on the Kings, get some more people watching. Sound's probably going to be pretty crap because it's just my phone, and I mean, eventually we might start doing these live with a nice set and get really hardcore and do some good stuff about this. What have we got coming up? We got a half-season grades and stats pod coming, probably
over the Christmas break. We'll get you some of that good info out.
Yeah,
even though my Facebook's frozen. Fuck
yeah.
I hate Facebook.
We are also gonna do. I was going to say we should talk about that swearing in the huddle. Did you see that midweek?
I did. That was hilarious. I mean, again, you're in passionate moment. Gazy's, let's rip with a few F-bombs and whatnot and C-bombs.
I think they all do. Like all the coaches do.
If you're gonna be a media and go, oh, let's hear what the coach is saying. Well, the coach is going to say some outlandish things. Like these are men. This isn't a baby league.
Yeah.
Swearing is going to happen from time to time. It's just our society deems that it's unnecessary to do so, even though I find it perfectly normal. Yeah,
so I got a theory on this. This happened a couple of weeks ago. About a month ago, there was the same thing. Should we get in the huddles, and should we talk about, should we get the camera in the huddle to hear what they're saying when they were clearly swearing? Nothing came of it, but this time he said, obviously, stick a thumb up there if you're standing there with his thumb up there.
Yeah.
So obviously there's an extra connotation to that comment.
A little bit more derogatory.
We can latch onto that. We can beat this up and make this into something. Which I just think, man, like go away. Like you're supposed to be promoting the game. Stop trying to create controversy out of nothing. And I thought Gaze handled it really well. He basically said, "Yeah, look, if you don't want us to say anything, put a big light and a big sign there saying you're on camera and you're on mic, so don't say anything. Like otherwise, buzz off."
I completely agree. It's so stupid.
Yeah, I thought he handled, he seems to handle the media really well, and he has a good rapport with the media in general. It's just some of his coaching is a little bit suspect. We're on camera. We don't want to be, taking a big dump all over the team at the moment because they have done quite well.
No, they played really well. Look, for my mind, that stretch of that game was a little bit too much ISO, a few too many bricks, not enough plays being run, which they've kind of done well for the games previously, but they've been coming off a lot of travel, a lot of staying away, and maybe this was just the come down from the high kind of thing.
Yeah.
They got pretty close. They always get pretty close to Melbourne, but these games sometimes just get away from us, and some very, very, very ordinary refereeing on both parts. There was
in
general, and it's been kind of culminating over the last couple of games. There's some ordinary refereeing in their game against the Taipans as well, but Taipans obviously not up to it, so didn't really make much. But even they got some bogus calls. I mean, that was slapped down in traffic and went cold. I think they've gone away from all right, everything's a foul to let's let a bit of contact go.
Yeah.
But
I don't mind that, but if you then just start to think, let's wind the game back in. You just start getting, you're letting it go a couple of quarters ago. Why are you changing the way you ref now?
They need some directive from outset. I think the stats really do prove that there has been some issues with the refereeing when Sydney is really not going to the line. And they have some of the best penetrators in the game in Randall and Lish.
And that was kind of our fault.
Yeah. I mean, we were too much shooting through traffic.
Yeah.
I think there was way too much shooting through traffic.
Well, we were shooting a lot of threes in that final quarter, but...
Yeah, bricking a lot of threes.
But we'll get back onto that. But we should go through the Taipans game first. Obviously, we went up to Cairns. We won that game 81-70. Good performance. I thought we played really well. That Cairns team is, not very good.
Chris Lawton?
Loughton, yeah. And Rob Lowe, man. Like, Rob Lowe is just like Psycho Bob. And then taking a lot of threes. Like, everyone was just saying, yeah, mate, shoot a three. Great. We want to see more threes, Rob. And I think he went 2 of 7 or 2 of 8 or something like that.
Yeah, a bit trash. OKC's pick, Devon Hall, has been a bit... I have to say, Brian Bowen's probably done more for the league than Devon Hall. Yeah,
and I think Devon Hall was the one he was talking about standing on the baseline, ball watching, because Newley a couple of times got past him. Yeah. Like, actually finished over the top of him.
He was like, I think he was mid-second round pick as well for OKC.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, he was this kind of like golden, pump and stash.
Yeah. He's attached to OKC still?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Okay, so it's essentially the Philly Bolden deal. Same
like
thing.
Draft and stash.
And he was meant to be this kind of golden child because they got a second round pick straight out of the NBA into Cairns, and they just haven't delivered. And like they were saying last night, this is the first time Cairns, or the first time in the league, that they've had a 1, 2, and 3 in the import. In the position and also being an import. And I don't think it works. I think you need a strong center or a strong power forward in that import position, because our depth locally isn't strong in those positions from a local game perspective.
I think there's probably like 1 or 2 teams where you could be a player who could supplement that team, and I think that's the way Bowen has supplemented our team.
Oh, of course,
because they were talking about on the feed, he should have gone to Cairns or should have gone to Illawarra, one of these teams where he could be scoring 20, 25 points a night.
But that's not what he's done, and that's not what he's brought. He's brought hard minutes to a team that's needed them. It's coming off the bench. I mean, I don't think without Bowen, Sydney would have won a few of the games that they did.
Because he's had a pretty big impact. I would say his impact fits the team rather than... he's coming in, taking minutes and doing things that are going to make this team better. I just think he fits like that extra rebounder. We're probably lacking one extra guard with size. Obviously, we've got Adnam, Lish, and Randall. And Wilson we haven't seen
at all.
And then we haven't seen like Deng Deng play. I think he could play on the 3 and the 4 as well.
Yeah.
But obviously, Bogut playing against Jawai, that was a big matchup.
Yeah, it was good.
Jawai played pretty well.
Nate Jawai is a great player. I just don't think he has the motor.
Nah, he's so big, man.
But he's just a big dude.
Yeah.
He hasn't got the motor, and then they don't really have anyone in that backup position.
Nah.
Jawai is a center from another era. He's like that old school, just bang in the spot, hit 50% from the free throw line. You're just essentially a dunk spot, DeAndre Jordan. He doesn't really defensively rebound too much as well.
Yeah.
But just as that kind of dunk spot. But I like the matchup. It was good fun to watch. Jawai got it over Bogut a few times.
Yeah. He just used his body, and obviously Bogut's dropped a lot of that weight to try and be a bit more effective and not get injured as much. And I thought they didn't go to it enough. Like I would have just every time Bogut was on the floor, I would have just gone Jawai on Bogut straight away, call it up, dial it up every time.
And then get to a small ball game, because I think Cairns would have outdone us in a small ball game with a faster 1, 2, 3. Potentially. Melo Trimble's still a fantastic player. Still looks like a good player. But they don't...
It's just a loose team. They're just kind of a bit all over the place.
Yeah, a bit all over the place. Coaches in his first year.
Yeah.
He's going to struggle a bit with the lack of the core center that he's had. I think, Chris Loughton. I think that's Chris Loughton.
A. Loughton.
A. Loughton.
Oh, let me just click that real quick.
Loughton. Let's just say Loughton.
Yeah, Loughton.
Man, he was just trash.
Yeah, and even Rob Lowe struggled as well. And even like when we played them at home, like I watched Rob Lowe and just felt like watching Robin Lopez. Like he's just the kind of out of control, all over the place. One of the Lopez brothers.
He's just it seems like the team's just kind of they've got the imports. They thought that they were going to be the be all. And DJ Newble played quite well.
Yeah.
He's not a bad player, but they just don't have the depth.
Nah.
And it seems like Melbourne and Sydney and even the Taipans.
The Bullets, Brisbane.
Yeah, Brisbane are looking a lot better. They seem to have depth.
Yeah.
Whereas I think a few of the other teams are lacking that kind of solid core of backup rotation players, and they're getting kind of punished down the straight for it. But I mean, another thing I think as well with how the NBL is structured is you're kind of getting your starters into 30, 34 minutes, and then your backup players are getting 6 minutes a game.
Yeah.
I feel like we need to be doing. I really feel like we need to be playing in the NBA style. If you really want to develop young talent, you need to give them more minutes.
Yeah.
And we're not doing that in the FIBA rule style. Like, it's 40 minutes a game. Your starters are getting 30 minutes, 32 minutes, and you guys coming on for little or no impact. With the lack of teams, with the lack of rounds, it kind of just seems like these teams are never going to get better. We're never going to get better as a sport unless we kind of get some more happening. Either more games or more minutes.
Yeah. So the good thing is that these guys can go over to the US and play. There's not really that big restriction. If you look at football, for example, like soccer, there's visa restrictions. There's all sorts of different restrictions on where these kids can go from Australia, which is why you find a lot of the multinational kids in Australia have passports overseas and can get in through the back door. Whereas in football, they're not actively pushing these guys to go over there early. Like, you're 16, you've got talent, go over to Europe and play there. I feel like the NBL is starting to move a little bit that way. Like, you've got talent, you're 16, 17, you get over to the US and get into those camps and start trying to go to college and start trying to do that nice and early.
We'll take you if you don't kind of make it. Yeah. Whereas the A-League is definitely moving away. They're like, no, stay here.
Yeah, make sure you stay at home. It's like, you're just wasting the first 7 years of your life, like your football career. And then you've got either Asia or maybe the lower leagues in Europe to try and make something at about 26, 27. That's too late.
You might go through the J League or the K League. I do want to say, though, that Travis Ware unfortunately left us after the last game, and David was let out of the basement, and we've obviously seen the consequences of it this game. A good 16% shooting.
Yeah, it's just, in a nutshell, he's kind of...
hot and cold.
Hot and cold.
But again, they did not run open plays for him at all this game.
Nah. And his game is defined by getting that early open shot and then hustling a lot. He hustles and then he gets into a rhythm. I just feel like this team doesn't have the room for him to hustle around like at the 4 spot. Like if he was playing
like the
three,
court doesn't have the room to hustle around
as
anything.
well. Yeah,
I don't know. I think the zone or the ability for the 5 to just kind of stay in the dunk zone. It compacts the floor.
Yeah. Plus, you have no 3-second rule, I don't think, on defense.
No.
Which hurts a player like Bogut. I mean, he's always hunting for the blocks at the rim. It kind of means you can't really use the paint properly by moving around, getting out, like moving out to
you just got to kind of stay there and just go straight upright. I mean, he does change so many shots by doing that, but that's really just because of his height and length and the fact that, we're not going to have the same 7-footers in this league that potentially the other leagues around the world get.
Yeah.
But still a massive game from Bogut. He had a block, a steal, 16 boards, 4 offensive.
7 assists.
7 assists.
Yeah,
wow.
with Randall, he had 7 assists as well. We moved the ball a lot better. It's just these teams that we play against that aren't very good. We move the ball and they have no answers for it. It's just when we get to the bigger teams like the Perth and Melbourne.
I think one of the things that you can say with Melbourne is defensively they are the best in the league.
Yeah.
Even if they're not shooting the ball well, they just shut players down.
Yeah.
And David Barlow has the ugliest 3-point shot in the world. Let's just put that out there.
The garbage scoop. It's so weird. Like it's like his elbow's attached to his hip and he shoots it like that. It's really bizarre.
It's really weird.
But it's effective and you kind of asked the game last night. Other stats in this game, Randall had 22 points, 6 of 14. Kick it off the bench was really effective in this game. 3 of 4 from 3. We're back to 3-point kick it rather than post kick it. He obviously got tucked back in the bag for the Melbourne game, but I want to see him get more minutes. Like in this Taipans game, we had the room to just kind of throw different lineups out there. Let's just throw kick it with a bunch of shooters, or let's just throw out kick it with Ware and then Ware at the 5, and just have anyone do anything, whatever they feel like doing.
Yeah.
Whereas in this Melbourne game, like it's tight and restricted. We've got these set rotations.
It's got to be more regimented.
We can't change the lineup for this Melbourne team, basically, because we've got our set rotations, we've got our set matchups. But a good win anyway. It capped off that 4-win road trip, which I thought 3 out of 4 would have been a good trip.
Yeah, definitely.
But 4 out of 4 was great.
4 out of 4 was great, and it takes us into a good position leading up to the finals. We really do need home court advantage, I think, playing against the bigger teams like the Wildcats or Melbourne potentially. But, we're halfway through the season now. We're starting to go up on the up and up, I think. We're heading in the right direction from a play perspective. Even if we do lose games, we're not getting trashed anymore.
Yeah.
So it's good to see, even if we do lose to Melbourne by 5 points, which really, it was a trash bag win for Melbourne. It was such a bad game after the second half. It seems just like they just shut down, go to we're not scoring, let's just go to some Randall ISO, and that's not working. Let's go for some Bogut back down, that's not working. Instead of just let's just run a whole bunch of plays. Let's get Bogut open on the lob. He missed a lot of open oops as well.
He missed one oop, and I think he missed one pretty much really wide open sort of layup. Just before we go into that game, though, the Taipans game, it feels like we play too many of those Taipans type teams where this is really easy. There's a lot of space. We can move around. This is easy, boys. But when we get to the tight games, we're kind of like we don't play enough of those tight games like that where we can actually work on the way we beat these tighter teams and we match up against these teams properly. We're too busy kind of, we're in transition, we're running, this is easy, boys. We can do this easy. And that's where that second half kind of felt like, we're up by 7. I think we got up to about 11-point lead. Suddenly we stop playing and we don't move the ball properly and we just kind of go back into our shell thinking, we don't have to hustle, we don't have to try. Melbourne started shooting in the third, I think, and they were just putting up shots, trying to get anything to go down. I think they took 20 shots, 7 of 20, shot 35%. And suddenly, Goulding, who I thought was having a terrible game in the first half.
He always lights up a little bit towards the end.
Yeah.
I mean, he still didn't shoot.
No, he didn't play particularly well, I thought. It was just he hit a couple of timely buckets. That 3 he hit, that was off when Randall got that foul. It was Casper Ware fouled him and he took 2 steps and took an attempt at the bucket and the refs just blew it. That's mate, that's continuation. What are you doing? Why are you taking a side out on that? That's a bad call.
So there's some bad there was some bad calls down in that game. Adam got axed about 3 times on the way to the basket and even though he was going through traffic, it was quite clearly
that's
a foul.
twice I've seen him he's just shoved straight into the press row and not get a call. It's just it's kind of weird. I just feel like in terms of the refs, our rants always come after we lose, and there's bad refereeing.
But you know what? I think there was bad reffing on both sides of the court.
For sure.
I think that at times they let Melbourne get away with murder, and then they just call it back and say, "Hey, that's a foul." You're like, "Well, no, that was hardly
be consistent." I feel like the refs, the standard of the league has gotten too high for this group of refs. These refs don't know how to control these games.
They don't award good post moves. That's what I've seen as well.
Yeah.
All right, in the NBA, if you're down low, you make a smart move and you get clipped on the arm. All right, that's going there. Whereas they'll just won't call it.
Yeah, they'll just let it go.
They'll just let it go. Oh no, that's general contract. Or arms in the air, but I've slapped you on the wrist.
Yeah,
balls changed. No, that's cool. Just go.
Or some of the little things like hooking under the basket as well. Boone likes to hook people. Yeah. And if you're letting him get away with it and then you come down the other end and you're giving away you're blowing soft fouls, it's just hang on, you got to call it consistent. You got to make sure you call these games consistently. And I think, they've just gotten, it's not salty whinging about the refs. I just think the game's just gotten too advanced for this crew of refs.
There's too many good professionals in this league now to have what we have in terms of reffing. And I don't imagine they're full-time refs. They're not paid enough to be full-time.
They're not good enough. I'm not sure how it works. I'm a complete amateur when it comes to understanding the association and how it works. But, that's just my general feeling. The game itself, we started pretty well.
We did. First quarter was quite nice. Good O boards.
Both teams shot 10 of 21.
Both teams shot really well. And then it just descended into Brick City.
Yeah, well, the second quarter, I thought we played really well. Defensively, we clamped them. We locked them down.
Yeah.
We're getting into rhythm, getting into transition. Lish was starting to heat up a little bit. I think he had the final shot of the first half. It was a nice step-back jumper, and it just felt like we're looking pretty good here. We're looking pretty solid. Halftime kind of came at a bad time for us when we were looking good. And then in that third, it was 13-16. It's a low-scoring quarter. It started poorly. I think both teams missed their first 6 shots, like as a collective. Just while we're sitting here, shout out to the live stream if anyone's watching.
Oh, yeah.
We know the audio is not going to be very good, but that's all right.
You can always just put it on and watch it later and put it on with the pod if you want.
Yeah. That'll be fun.
You kind of know us. And look, there we are now. I can see us.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, so the third quarter, like, it started poorly. The crowd wasn't really into it. Like, I didn't end up going to the game. I got home too late and I couldn't buy a ticket. And I knew it would be a nosebleed ticket. And it just felt like there was no energy in the arena at all in that third.
It was very quiet. Very quiet.
Allowed them to get back in it. And they just kind of were putting up shots in that third quarter, like hoping something to go. They shot 7 of 20. Like, they were just hoping anything would go, trying to get to the line.
Yeah.
We were putting up a few dodgy 3-pointers and then trying to get into transition. We couldn't do anything with it. It just wasn't working for us at all.
Newly slashing kind of just was null void in the second half. It kind of would get there and then just dissolve into nothing. There just wasn't some smart plays, and then we just went to ISO. And once you go to ISO and shots aren't falling at the best of times, then it's not going to work. But from a night, Sydney Kings were 28 of 73
from the field.
Yeah,
in general.
Yeah,
that's pretty rough.
Yeah,
that's very unlike the Kings in general.
Yeah, it's
it was all those 3-pointers towards the end of the game. Like, I think we shot 0 of 7. So, but back to the start of the game, Randall. It felt like after that game winner, he drove in and he kicked it out. It felt like, we've unlocked something here. Like, Jerome Randall can drive in past 2 guys, be met at the rim, and there's 2 guys open.
And he did. Earlier, he got where open.
Yeah, he got a few guys open. He was really doing that. And then we kind of just went away from that. And that's where we get stuck. Like, he holds the ball for a long time. The double trap comes up, and he, instead of like passing out of it quickly, he gets stuck in it a little bit.
Yeah.
And we can't swing the ball and get open. And I feel like there's probably only 2 or 3 slashers in this team, like Lish, Newley, and Randall. And I mean, Adnam likes to slash, but he's just so undersized that finishing in traffic is, it's kind of a low percentage play for him. Like, David Ware doesn't put the ball on the floor and drive in and like get to the rim at all. And then obviously Bogut, if he's trying to drive and get to the rim, like, it's gaudy, it's ugly, it's kind of all over the place. So you're not expecting him to fulfill that role. That's where, like, we need to change the way we play a little bit, like get off those Randall drives and start moving the ball a little bit more. And then guys are going to get open looks, man. Like, Newley should be getting 2 or 3 like open layups a game, or like drives to finish a game easily.
It just feels like the floor is so cramped because there is no defensive 3-second. Like, you watch the NBA, you can essentially take all the players over to one side and have this great ISO battle. Whereas the ISO here is just like, 1-on-1, and then 5 players will just go like that.
And
then it's just
kind of bunched
up. The ball went in through 3 players and no one saw anything. You just miss half the action because just bodies in the way. It's such it's a terrible product. I think we have to look at what the NBA brings as a product, as the game of basketball, which is the Premier League on earth, which has all the best players, which you're sending players to play in.
Yeah.
And if we're really going to be the NBA's little brother, we really need to start playing and going back to non-FIBA rules. I think FIBA rules are stupid.
So I wonder if is there any FIBA connections through the wider, like the corporate structure of the game. FIBA gets us into these Asian tournaments and all of these other different tournaments.
That's the whole point of it. Because the US just goes, we're not going to do anything until
the Premier
Olympics.
tournaments. We don't need to do that.
We don't really need to do that. But I think we need to evolve our basketball as a nation to be in the same light. We're not, we're getting 12,000 people to a game. This isn't like a little league where there's a marching band on the floor and 30 people in the bleachers.
The Union Newcastle where Mater Maker's playing.
The crowds are up 4% this year. The average points scored are up 5% this year. And, the TV coverage has been fantastic. And so you're now getting basketball starting to build back up in this country.
I think Bogut's had an effect on that as well.
Yeah, it's the Bogut effect, completely. But that's what we need to do. We need to bring guys who have been stalwarts in the NBA home, like Patty Mills, when he's 35, should come back and earn $1 million a year just because he's Patty Mills and he wants to come home.
And Delhi especially as well, like after he's finished his career at the Cavs and all of that sort of stuff.
That's it. Bring these guys home for a couple of seasons. They don't have to play the rigorous schedule. They play 28 games and potentially 10 games postseason. There's
even a few European guys too that could come back, but without the high profile. But I still think, there's that FIBA connection in the wider arc of the main game. Like we're kind of stuck being latched onto that with playing Asian Cup and all of that sort of stuff.
We're stuck in this idea that the future of our monetary rights in Australia is Australian national basketball.
Yeah.
Because it was for so long. It's not anymore. The NBL has evolved beyond that. We're going to have another team next year, hopefully another couple of teams after that, get to a 10, 12-team league.
Yeah.
Up the amount of games played, have a good, an attendance, get some good players out here who potentially aren't in the NBA anymore, attract those bigger guys, get the salary cap up because they're making more money, get a better TV deal.
Yeah.
And get away and get a better product online. The product is what people want to see. People don't want to go see, like, I look up some quarters and was like, oh, that's 10 minutes over already.
Yeah. You look up and there's like a minute to go and you're like, whoa, this game is just starting to get interesting. Yeah, what's going on here?
And then it stops and it's just like, oh.
And so obviously we've got the
how much happens in the last 2 minutes of every quarter in the NBA?
Yeah, a lot, and it slows down, and there's time, there's room for runs, and there's room for a lot of different things to happen in the quarter. Whereas it feels like it's so compressed in those quarters.
8 minutes goes, and then a coach blows the time out. Oh, there's 2 minutes left, and then you're just like, there was a half of basketball that I saw.
Yeah. Well, it was just starting to get good, and then it was half time. Okay, like I kind of felt a little bit like, to tie it back into this game, kind of felt like we were starting to get a rhythm. Like we're starting to get rolling here. We're looking good, and then halftime came, and it's like, okay, we're back in the sheds, and we just cool off again. But obviously, we've got that development program for the young guys.
Yeah,
I think that'll start to get a few more guys from the US in the elite development.
Well, I also think that we need to also have our local draft that needs to coincide post NBA draft to allow guys to enter the NBA draft. Yeah. And then if they can't get in there playing college ball, to come back here. And so our best college ball talent that doesn't make it in America can come back to Australia and play for some of the lower grade teams like the Taipans.
Yeah.
To get them up a bit more and get it a bit more competitive, because it's just kind of like, like Emmett Nah. Emmett Nah was one of the great college players, played with Jock Landau. And he comes back to Wollongong, and it's kind of nothing's made of it.
Yeah, he kind of didn't mean anything. I think he declared for the draft as well, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Yeah. So just on Emmett Nah, did you see Pinau's haircut?
Oh God, didn't Emmett Nah cut it apparently?
Yeah, Emmett Nah cut his hair.
It's like, dude plays basketball.
Horrible. Yeah. I think he was. They were saying on the telecast, I think it was Shane Hill was saying that. His mum wanted his hair cut for Christmas, so he lives with Emmett Nah, I believe, and Emmett Nah cut his hair. It's just now, come on,
NBA, NBL, you should be able to pay for a barber to come in and cut that dude's hair. You'd get his college roommate from.
Take him to Brian Bowen's stylist, man, because I think it's his mum actually that styles Brian Bowen's hair, because she's a stylist or something like that. They were talking about that a while back, but that's the St Mary's connection. Dane Pinau played for St Mary's in the US as well. Yeah.
Also,
we've got the NBL going and playing over in the US in preseason, which is good. That's good as well.
Yes.
It's going to get a lot of these teams noticed. We almost beat the OKC, I think. Was it the Breakers? Or no, Melbourne, I think, almost beat. And then the Breakers almost beat Chicago or some other team.
Chicago looked crap.
Yeah. So... hopefully the wider game develops in general, but obviously we're in the middle of it at the moment, right? I'm sure if you looked at the league 5 years ago and you looked at it now, you'd go, wow, this is a much better product.
It is a better product.
5 years ago.
It is a better product. And I think it needs to even become a better product. And I think taking away from FIBA is one thing, is taking the league to the NBA. Most of the NBA is the premier product. I can't say this enough, because NBA has the most views. It's the most watched league in the world. It's where we send all our players from all countries to develop and get better. Yet we don't imitate that league in any of the countries. We go by these FIBA rules.
Yeah.
And they're kind of like this European conglomerate and that, we're going to take over basketball. And the US being, we don't really care because our league makes more than every other league combined. Just we'll do our own thing. I think we need to take on the rules.
Yeah, but I'm sure there's political stuff like tied up in all of that.
Of course there's political. Who gives a shit? Like,
Yeah, but we're just one little league, man. A 10-team league, man.
We are 10-team league, but yet we attract some of... We need to start attract something that the best international prospects that, potentially don't play in America. Yeah. They should go, right, we're going to play in the NBL.
So hopefully this development league thing, this development, elite development contract thing will start getting one in every team. Yeah. At least as a minimum. Like, you don't even need to use them. Really, it's a 12-man roster. There's not really enough time to put everyone on. This is
the other thing as well. Like, it hampers the development of our young players because it is a 12-man roster. Denga Kuth is part of the young stars.
Yeah.
And he's played like a minute.
Yeah, yeah.
If you're there's no trash time. Where's the trash time? The trash time is an important part of basketball. It gives you a chance to look at these guys, to get to know their style and their play. But there's no time for trash time. Yeah.
That's another part where that's also on us as well. Like, a couple of times we've had 15-point leads and then let them slip. Like, a couple of times on this road trip we did it as well, where you're like, man, can you blow this out to 20-25 and then we can bring out the trash minutes, the garbage time for these players. But we don't. We let these games slip. It's similar to this game. We obviously should just talk about the end of this game.
Yeah.
The same kind of thing happened in this game where we were out by, I think, 11, looking pretty comfortable in the third. Gazy, we got a new timeout play, the wizard. He called it out. It's a wizard. And if Tugsy's on the baseline, if not, we continue. And then Tugsy came through wide open.
Yeah.
The pass was a little bit late, a little bit delayed. And he eventually got kind of bodied out under the basket. And I wanted to say, like, he gets trapped under the basket a lot, like, and tries to finish, like, leaning through traffic with his arm out. Basically because some of these post entries don't come at the right time, and some of them aren't, like, quick, really, really good post entries. And the fact that he's probably not big and intimidating enough. Plus, he gets called for these fouls, like these off-ball phantom fouls, and he gets a lot of them. He probably gets one or two a game, I reckon. I think he had one again where you just look up and go, that's not a foul. Like, what are you calling that for? Just weird.
Inconsistency of the level of reffing in the NBL.
So I think that plays into his mindset because he's obviously a very sort of well-connected, cerebral type player. Like, he's got a high IQ, basketball IQ. I think that affects his game. Like, he's like, I'm not going to bully people because I'm just going to get called for fouls the entire time. Like, he got in that Taipans game, like, he finished that dunk. Was it the Taipans or was it Illawarra? I think it was Illawarra. He finished that dunk and he got smacked to the floor, like whack on the floor, and he gets up going, how's that not a foul? Like,
legs taken out. I know.
Like, so down the end, Kyle Adam, he got smashed and he didn't get a call. Another one where he got punted into the press row. And then obviously they missed that Randall call, which would have stopped. I think they were on a 11-0. I think they made 11-0 run. And that we were up by 7 with 8:38 to go. Kickett had made a 2-pointer. We didn't score at all until 2:55 left in the quarter. So that's pretty much where we lost the game. We had a lead of 7, and then we were down by 4, and that score brought us to within 2. It was a Newley driving layup. Wasn't enough time. That's where we just kind of shot 3. So I've got it here. So Adnan missed a pretty raspy drive in the paint. He got, I think, 2 guys just kind of blocked his shot. He's obviously a small guy. He's not going to finish around a guy like Boone with ease. And then you got Lish took a 3-pointer brick, Kickett turnover, Bogut turnover. After a nice steal on Goulding from Lish, stole his lunch. It was good bit of play. And then Bogut with an offensive foul turned it over. Lish 3-pointer brick, David Ware 3-pointer brick, Lish 3-pointer brick, Randall 3-pointer brick, Newley 3-pointer brick. Newley's one was wide open. He basically had a lane to the hoop as well.
He didn't drive.
Could have just driven to the hoop. Randall 2-pointer was a brick. So it was 0-6 on threes and then 0-2 on twos and an 0-8 cold stretch in the fourth. Basically, that just lost us the game. We were up 7 and then we were down 4. And that was pretty much all she wrote Goulding with a nice push-off, uncalled push-off to ice the game.
Yeah.
Little stiff arm elbow, but obviously...
He's a crafty turd of a player. Oh, look at that microphone.
Yeah, we're going
slap
so well
down
too.
microphone, yeah.
Hopefully
have a
no one
phantom
saw that
in
if anyone was watching.
All right.
But yeah, so obviously no cherry on top of the game right before Christmas. No cherry on top of that nice away trip. To come back and beat, I think all three of those games were winnable, those Melbourne games.
Yeah.
Saying that, we thought it'd be two losses on the season then if we had won those three games. You can't win every game.
Cannot.
You can't play brilliant every game. But I was happy with that four game road trip. So I was fuming. Like right after the game, I was absolutely fuming. And then I kind of went, we got that road trip. So we're happy with that.
We got 4 games. I mean, would always be nice to be a nice Christmas present, but not to be.
Yeah, just a lump of coal.
That's it. Turd in our stocking. All right, we look to the next round, and one game in this round. It's on the 29th. It's
Brisbane.
And this is our first
look at Brisbane.
Have
you done any research?
We have not.
I haven't either. I watched them play against someone the other night that they beat. I think it might have been Melbourne. Kadhi's actually playing pretty well. He might be a tough guy to handle.
He's a tough guy to handle because he's such a good distributor.
Yeah.
He's not the greatest shot in the world, but he's a great distributor of the ball. They've got a solid lineup. I thought that they were probably underperforming at the beginning of the year, and got a great coach and our national coach.
Getting called
on the iPhone.
Nice. Yeah. Anyway,
Cam Glidden is obviously a great player. He's been fucking playing lights out. Sorry for the swear word. Cameron Bairstow. I mean, he's an ex-NBA player.
Yeah.
Lamar Patterson. They're just playing well. They've got a good team. They've got a good depth. Tarangi.
Cam Glidden was playing good for the Boomers, actually.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
And, he's really kind of fighting for that call-up. So they've got a good lineup, maybe lacking a little bit on the bench depth, but their starters are great. Good distributors of the ball. And we will have a good fight against them.
Yeah.
I think that they will be very strategical in how they play Sydney. And I think that that's probably to our detriment. I think it's going to be a bit of a scrappy game. I don't think it's going to be very high scoring.
Is that at home?
Yes, it is.
We should try and go to that.
Should try. 10-week-old baby sometimes says otherwise.
And me, you got home too late and then was like, I don't want to buy a nosebleed ticket, man. Like, if I'd have got a good ticket, I would have gone to that game yesterday. But by the time I got there,
I'd just love to get to a game.
Yeah. With your Mad Kings jersey.
With my Mad old school.
Reppin'.
Mate, I bought this at the Sydney Entertainment Centre. There you are. It's taken me back.
Wow.
Hardcore back.
Wow.
That's about 10 sizes too big because I think it was $15 back then. Good times.
On the throw-out table. Anyway, yeah. So hopefully we can beat that Brisbane team. I think it'll be good to see a new team that we haven't seen this season.
Yeah. Interesting game. Sick of seeing the same old Melbourne.
Yeah, and then we're away to Illawarra after that, and then at home to New Zealand in the new year.
So I think Brisbane's probably the hard one of those three. We should get another couple of good wins against Illawarra. I don't think Illawarra have any answer for Bogut.
Nah, they don't. Yeah,
and
our transition game, and then we seem to score a lot of points off missed baskets. So.
We do, and
Emmett just doesn't want to shoot.
No, he does not. He does not at all. So we'll be back after the Brisbane game, I think. Giving you guys a full wrap up. We might try this live stream again. We may not. Let us know. Comment, like, subscribe. We'll endeavour to continue the content. Yeah, no worries. And also our NBA pod on Aussies Taking Over the NBA. We're about to record another episode of that. So if you're into the NBA, give us a look. Find the page, Oz NBA Takeover. The YouTube is Oz NBA Takeover, and that one's on SoundCloud. And on iTunes, Aussies Taking Over the NBA. Indeed. And if you want to do a catch-up, you can find On the King's Dime on iTunes also. All right. Peace out, everyone. Peace out, peeps.